Did you know you could be investing the same amount of money and getting 3.5 times more Bitcoin and Ethereum? Most people don't. Today, I'm going to show you how you can grow your portfolio with the same amount of money 3.5 times faster. It all starts out with understanding how to dollar cost average. The big thing I see a lot of people do in the world of investing, especially within Bitcoin and Ethereum, is they try to time the market. They think they can figure out when's the best time to put money in and do that. And most people can't. Even the best people in the world are not good at choosing when to buy. It's a dollar cost average thing is the real way to grow wealth. You can look this up anywhere and you will find that people that dollar cost average, a lot of them outperform traders at the highest levels. These big funds, if you just dollar cost average, you could probably beat them. And I think this is where it all starts. And people need to understand you can't do anything and be successful unless you're consistently doing it. You can't work out one time and be in shape, eat healthy one time and be healthy. You can't invest one time every now and then and be rich. You need to be consistent over long periods of time. So the overall becomes when you put in at the wrong times, you end up buying at the worst possible moments. And the prices doesn't matter how much you put in, it's gonna fall and you're gonna feel like, oh, I lost this. And sometimes they pull out the money and take the loss instead of looking at it as a buying opportunity to buy more. And even better, if you're not even watching to see the market when it's up or down and you're just putting in consistently like once a month, just like you would do with the bill, that's the best way to do it. And one of the biggest challenges is right now we're just starting in a bull run. And what I see running an app like I do is most people want to get involved when the prices are the highest, right? We're going to see the biggest amount of people trying to dive in to buy when the prices are the highest. They're pretty high right now. And I'm already seeing an uptick in people wanting to use my app. When it was a bear market and the app was up and Bitcoin was 25, 30 grand, it's very hard to get people to want to do it. Now it's much easier and Bitcoin's 120K. That is an interesting thing that I fight and I try to make sure people start to understand that we live in a time where this is probably going to be your biggest opportunity to gain wealth. Don't screw it up by thinking you can time the market and you can put the right amount of money in at the right time and make yourself rich. If you just put $100 a month in for a certain amount of time, you will become rich. It might not happen in 5 years, it may take longer, but the more money you deposit, the more likely you are not to miss a bull run. Another big problem is people not taking profits, right? So this happened to me last time. I 6x'd my portfolio. I put in a certain amount of money and I 6x'd it. And it was growing and growing and growing and I didn't take profits and it fell back down. And that's partly why I created the software I created. So how do you triple your amount that you invest? This is always a thought like, this is too good to be true. How are you doing this? Simple. It's called decentralized finance. You can make a loan on a decentralized platform like Aave, which is the one we use mostly, and we're working on others, but Aave's the king. And you could deposit $100 and through our software borrow $250 from Aave, and Aave will put that in your deposit as your collateral. And now you have a loan of 250 against 350 of collateral, and we dollar cost average that into Bitcoin and Ethereum. You can do it with 1,000, you can do it with 100,000, you can do it with 1,000,000 and get 3.5 million. Yes, that's possible. And why is this safe? It's safe because this decentralized finance, it's all smart contracts. You can't get this you can't get not approved, right? If you go to a bank and ask for $350 loan or $250 loan or 2,500, they probably won't even allow you to do that low of a loan. But if you want a loan for 250,000, they're gonna ask you for your DNA basically to be able to get that kind of money. Here, I have people right now that are able to borrow 150,000 with the press of a button. That's insane. Like, if you really think about the wealth building opportunity, once people realize this, and yes, we're in a moment where this is happening. The country of America has proven that the United States is going to take crypto seriously. So are other countries. So are other businesses publicly traded. You see now companies creating Bitcoin treasuries, Ethereum treasuries. I myself did that, and that is why I'm running my app without needing investors. I put in money as the prices grew, I borrowed to spend. I have been able to borrow to pay the bills of my business for a while because I've been doing this for years at this point, taking advantage of these low interest loans that let me buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, which grow in value at about 40-50% a year. And the interest on the loan is like 6-8% sometimes. That's a good trade. And the more money you can do that with, the richer you will get. And by bringing in $1,000 and borrowing $2,500, you're multiplying your exposure. Step one, you got to make it a non negotiable monthly thing. Whether you bring in $100, $1,000, $500, $50, $10, make sure you're doing it at a consistent rate. You can't time the market. Nobody can. But with a small amount of money for any amount of time, you can be rich. With $100 a month, borrowing 250, over 10, 15, 20 years, you can be rich. I know that seems like a long time in the grand scheme of things, but if you think about things like 401ks and pension plans, those things are built over decades, not in one-time payments. They take that money out of your check every month for decades. And you still walk away with possibly not enough to live for the rest of your life. At least with Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can know that it's the highest gaining asset in history, and you can always borrow off of that portfolio. You can take $1 million portfolio and borrow $100,000 a year off of it, as long as Bitcoin and Ethereum grow 15-20%, and right now it's much higher than that. That's amazing. But again, to get to a million, you either got to put $1 million in one shot or put a little bit over time. But as you're putting a little bit, if that little bit is also growing, getting you closer to the million, the sooner you do it, the better. So understand, consistency is the main thing. If you're going to bring in 100, 50, 200, whatever it is, it's mostly about being consistent. So what I tell people is think about a number you know you can do every month, whether things are hard or not. You can put more certain months, but come up with a number that you think, all right, this is my freedom bill. I'm going to put in this amount every month into a savings slash investment that's going to grow for me for the rest of my life. And even once I'm gone, I can give this to my kids and let them borrow off of this. Step two, you can use the app in three different ways. We have the ability to bring in money and then borrow money out to pay for things. You could just deposit now and borrow later so it can dollar cost average for you. And then maybe you just let it do its thing and then borrow later. Or you can bring in an amount and borrow money to invest on top of that, not to pull out, but borrow to invest more. And when you multiply how much you invest, that we've seen has done the best. So if you bring in $100, borrow 250, it's going to grow more, right? Versus putting in $100 and buying just Bitcoin and Ethereum with 100. If you can't afford to bring in the money and borrow and live off the expenses, I have people doing this with the full amount that they work to earn. So I have people making 10,000, borrowing 7, investing 10,000, borrowing 7 every month to pay their bills. I know not everybody can do that, but there are people. This is where the rich get richer. That person is pretty wealthy, making over 120K a year. The average salary in the United States is, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, 80 maybe. So this person is making more and investing more. This is where the wealth divide, if you're not even invested at all, I don't know where this goes as all this stuff keeps happening within automation and job loss. I really worry about that. And that's why I stack as much as I can. Then, of course, you can do this all on your own. You can put money in Aave, you can borrow off of it. You can't do the borrow more to invest. Well, you can actually. You can borrow and then bring it back in yourself. And then the big risk here is if the prices fall, you get something called liquidated. What that means is, let's say you have a $350 of collateral and a $250 loan. You buy all Bitcoin and Ethereum, and as the prices fall, your value of your collateral reaches close enough to the value of your loan. So as that price of Bitcoin and Ethereum are falling and is getting close to $250, platforms like Aave will do what's called a liquidation, and they'll take a percentage of your collateral to repay the loan. And that's how they stay solvent. And their app is not going to allow them to lose money, so they're going to take some of your collateral to pay off the loan. With Stack, we protect that. So when we say auto protection, as the prices are falling, we are selling some of the Bitcoin and Ethereum to protect the loan and to pay off the loan. And that's how you protect yourself. You could do this by hand. I used to do it by hand, but of course, we all have to sleep. We all have to go on vacation. We all have to do things. And there might be a dip in the middle of the day that you can't catch. And I have people that are doing this on their own that have been liquidated, and it sucks. And that's why we built what we built. The other big problem I see is taking profits. So as I said in the beginning of the video, as the prices go up, you look at your portfolio and you're just loving it, but you're too scared to sell some because you think it's going to keep going up higher. So what our app does is as the prices are growing, it starts to create a higher point of protection against the falling. So if, let's say, you buy today and the prices are growing and then the prices start to fall, we start selling. So we take that profit for you. We take some of that profit, repay your loan, and we dollar cost average back in. So what does that mean? You're growing your net worth because you took profits and you're buying back in as the prices are falling. And then as the prices go up again, you're buying more. I mean, you're doing it again, repeating the process over and over, growing your net worth. And there's the biggest thing the biggest challenge I have seen with people is wanting to borrow too early, and this happened to me. The first time this happened, I've told this story before, but I took 25,000, borrowed 6 and bought Polygon Matic 10x. So I had $85,000 of collateral with a $6,000 loan. So instead of taking that gain and paying off the loan, what did I do? I borrowed more money and I started buying other things. Those things fell in value. I still had the loan, right? Some of them went up in value. I paid down the loan, but I had to do this by hand. One night in the middle of the night, I come back and my portfolio is a third of what it was the night before, which went from 85K to like 30K or something like that. And I'm like, what happened? I got liquidated. Prices fell. They took part of my collateral to pay down my loan and my portfolio dropped. If I would have, when I was at 85K, paid off that 6K loan, I would have had 85K of collateral and no loan. But I didn't know what I know now. And it happened while I was sleeping. And that's when I woke up and knew I need to build something to protect liquidations. And this is how I'm going to gain extreme wealth over the rest of my life. I will be doing this. I just didn't know how I was going to be doing it. I was using money I took out of my 401k. And whenever I would get paid and I had extra money, I would put it in. Until the day came when I had to buy a cell phone. And I realized, wait a minute, I can bring in more than the amount of the loan that I would need to buy the phone. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I could do this with all my bills, not just with whenever I can. I can say every month I'm going to put in a certain amount more than my bills so I can invest as much as I'm earning. Then the super unlock came when I realized I could do this for my businesses. Because me as a person, I'm one employee of a business, but a business pays multiple people and multiple things, and it has much more revenue going through it. And that was the unlock, because if me as an individual can do this much, a business can do this much per month. And that's where the true unlock came. So build a bigger portfolio faster. The quick thing to understand is if you deposit a certain amount and you were just going to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, sure, that's helpful. It's better than doing nothing. But wouldn't you want to grow your portfolio 3 times faster? I don't see anybody that doesn't want to reach their goal 3 times faster. So if you have a goal of reaching a certain portfolio size, if you can borrow money to get there, there's nobody that wouldn't do that unless they don't fully understand. And that's where it's up to me to make sure people fully understand. So get more Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we're going to add other coins to it. So you can dollar cost average to other coins if that's your thing. And you're going to grow faster with the safety. Why? Because as prices are going up, we're going to take those profits. As the prices start falling from the gain, like right now, we just went from 80,000 to 120. I have people who have gained double their net worth in 2 months. What would you do to double your net worth in 2 months? Of course, we can't bank on that happening all the time. But to double your net worth in 2 months is insane. And again, these are wealthier people who understand borrowing money to make wealth is how it happens. So my goal is to teach everybody, especially people who are not as lucky financially. Because again, I hear this a lot. Yeah, but they have money to invest. But you got to sacrifice. You got to figure out what you can sacrifice. If it's $10 a month, sacrifice that. It'll grow. It may not feel like a lot, but it will get there. If it's $50 a month, and over time, what will start to happen is you will start making sacrifices to reach your goal. You say, you know what? I don't need this. I'm about to spend money on this. This money is directly coming away. It's taking me away from my goal. So I'm not going to do it. And once you start to see that, it's very powerful. And there's smart leverage and bad leverage, right? There's dumb debt. So when you go into your credit cards to take a trip, vacation, experiences are important. But if you don't have an emergency amount of money or investments at all, you may want to look and say, I need to grow my net worth before I pay for this vacation or these high level sneakers or shoes or jewelry, whatever it is, devices. I have to buy all kind of stuff. But again, if I know this mic costs $200 and I could deposit 300, borrow the 200, I'm investing 300 and I'm buying the device, right? That's where, like, again, I always say it. Jay-Z says, if you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. Now I say, if you can't put 40% more on top of it, you can't afford it. So if you're about to spend $1,000 on something and you can't pay 1,400, then you can't afford it, because if you could put 1,400 and borrow 1,000, then you're investing you're investing more than you're spending. And that's the goal. And the faster you can get there, the better. And then if you look at the active protection, in the past, we have not had this. We allowed people to do what they wanted. Most people were saying, no, I'm in it for the long run. I don't want to take profits. I'm going to dollar cost average for years. But it hurts when you see your portfolio at a certain level. So I'll give you an example. I had somebody with a lot of Bitcoin. Let's just say this person had 5 Bitcoin. Bitcoin was at $110,000. They had $550,000. Bitcoin drops to 80K. 8 times 5 is 400,000. That's a 150K drop. But if you had the smart protection, you could have kept that 550 because you didn't need to go in and take the profit yourself. The app would have done it for you. Now you got 150K to buy back in when Bitcoin is 80K. Now you could buy more Bitcoin instead of losing that value. That's why you want to protect the downside and protect the upside. And that's why we built what we built. And another question we always get is, with debt, there's payments, there's repayments. And yes, you have to repay a loan, but there's no monthly payment, because as long as you have more collateral than your loan, nobody cares. My app doesn't care. The lender that we work with does not care, because they can't lose. They have more collateral than loan. If the prices fall to a certain point, they'll just take your collateral and pay back their loan. What we do is we protect that from happening. So how can you do all three steps? You can deposit cash into apps other than mine. You can deposit, then borrow, and then you can protect on your own, or you can automate it through our app, Stackit.ai. What we do is you press a couple buttons and we set the defaults to dollar cost average for you. When prices go up, sell and protect those profits. And when prices come down, sell and protect those profits. And anytime we sell to protect or take profits, take some of that and pay down the loan. This way your net worth keeps growing. And if you're consistent and you keep bringing in money every single month, you will reach your goal faster than just buying the coin on its own, and definitely faster than not doing anything. So stop growing slow. At the end of the day, if you're investing and you're not using leverage, you're growing slower than you can be. And the only reason people say don't mess with leverage is because of liquidations. So if you're in an app that doesn't allow you to be liquidated, then you're able to take advantage of triple the investment. And now you're growing smarter and reaching your goal faster. And that's my goal. That's everybody I have on this app, and anybody new that's interested. That's the goal. So if you're interested in learning more, you can go to stackit.ai/guide to download our free guide to learn how you can turn $100 into 350, 1,000 into 33 to 3,500, 100,000 into 350,000. And if you want to find out how much Bitcoin you think you will need to actually be able to reach your goal, watch this next video.